bring in Marc Stein, New York Times NBA writer. Marc, what was the moment where you went, what or who last night?
Yeah, I think McLovin should know more of those names. Those all should not be shocking to him. But Jalen Smith at 10 for sure. I mean, that allowed Halliburton to slip, and that was definitely a surprise. But the Williams going at 4, that was bubbling. That was bubbling well in advance of the draft actually starting last night. But it's also indicative of what kind of draft this was. I mean, you had Minnesota and Golden State really looking hard to find trade down to get more win now type of players, and they couldn't find those trades. So number 4 probably is a good spot to take a risk on a guy with a lot of upside like Williams, who, as you said, he didn't start at all in college, but the Bulls and a lot of teams think that he has the upside that justifies him there. But it was a weird night. I don't want to be so downbeat about it, but when you get that Klay Thompson news right before the draft, I mean that it's already a virtual draft, which is just, I mean, as well as you can do broadcast-wise, it's just not going to be nearly the same. So it's already the weirdest draft we've ever seen, and then to get that kind of news that shook the league, and not in a good way.
Do we have an update on Klay Thompson, and can you set the scene where he was playing this pickup game, who he was playing with?
Well, we'll get the firm update today, but all the rumbles coming out are concern of the highest degree. I mean, he was basically playing a pickup game in downtown LA, and guys are looking for those kind of games right now because, let's face it, the season is upon us. It's upon guys a lot faster than they expected. In the bubble, the word was, hey, the season might not start until February, might not even start until March, and now it's starting before Christmas. And Klay Thompson has been out a long time, and he was playing pickup ball, and I mean, you saw the reaction of fellow pros last night. I mean, he is so well respected and so well liked, and guys on other teams are taking it as a crushing blow to hear how serious this injury could be. We don't have the full confirmation, but obviously it doesn't sound good.
I wondered if Golden State was going to alter their draft strategy when they got the news about Klay Thompson. Do you know if there was any thought of maybe changing up and not taking James Wiseman?
Well, Bob Myers did acknowledge that they thought about it for a second, but look, it happened way too late. And let's be honest, in the modern draft, who are you going to find that can plug in next season to even come close to replicating what Klay Thompson does? It's impossible.
Well, I was thinking that I put Steph as the off guard and I have LaMelo Ball running my point. Now,
no, I mean, because you can't make that dramatic of a decision in a matter of hours. I think the Warriors did the absolute right thing.
Yeah. They
need size. They need athleticism. Wiseman is who they wanted. If they kept the pick, that's the way it materialized. And I do think we have to remember this is the state of the NBA draft at this point. If 3 or 4 rookies make a real impact next season, that's a lot. I don't think you can react to an injury in real time like that and change course.
The top draft prospect, number 1 pick, Anthony Edwards, kind of shook things up a little bit when he said he would prefer to be drafted in the NFL. Did this change anybody's opinion of Anthony Edwards and his desire to want to be a great NBA player?
I think it changed a lot of opinions in the punditry and has a lot of people scratching their heads, and certainly something he's going to be asked about and be asked to explain as his NBA career unfolds. But it didn't dissuade Minnesota, and the Wolves were in a tough spot. This was a draft with no one that teams considered a franchise cornerstone, not like what we were looking at a year ago when you got Zion Williamson and John Morant at the top of the draft, and those teams are just so thrilled to get their guy. Positionally, Edwards fits the best of the players who were at the top of this draft, but I mean, there are question marks about him. So, Minnesota tried everything it could to construct a deal, trade down, see if they could get someone who they considered, more along the timeline of Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell, who it's time for those guys to win. They couldn't find it, but look, they did make the trade to bring back Ricky Rubio. And Rubio had a really good season in Phoenix. Phoenix was happy with Ricky Rubio, but obviously you get the chance to trade for Chris Paul, you're going to do that. But so Minnesota made the move to bring Rubio back. Let's see how he and Russell fit together. But I was not envious of Minnesota's position having to pick number one out of this group.
I loved what Philadelphia did last night. I don't know if it's draft strategy, but it's just basketball roster strategy. Recap what they did, Mark.
What it is, well, Daryl Morey. I mean, that was the other pre-draft thunderbolt that Daryl Morey found a way to move Al Horford, which before the Sixers hired Daryl Morey, you would have found very few people around the league saying and thinking that Philadelphia was going to be able to trade him. And Daryl Morey comes in, he moves Al Horford, he gets Danny Green in that trade with the Thunder. Later on, they bring in a shooter in Seth Curry. They send Josh Richardson to Dallas. Seth Curry has been, a fantastic shooter, fantastic value on the contract he has. And just even more than the moves to me, it's just if you're a Sixer fan and it's just been nothing but chaos and turmoil for years, and you have all this doubt about how Embiid and Simmons fit. But Daryl Morey, in very short order, he's been there a matter of days. He's just shown an ability. He makes moves. He gets things done. He's decisive. I think it just sends the signal that, we want this guy running our team. They're by no means done, but they made moves that make a lot more sense for their roster. And the East has gotten tougher. Still nowhere near the depth of the West, but Philly looking a lot better on paper today to go with your Milwaukees, your Bostons, your Torontos, your Miamis. Brooklyn's coming back now. The top of the East just looks so much better.
Talking to Marc Stein, who covers the NBA for the New York Times. I'll leave you with this. Anything happened last night that would move the Harden-Russell Westbrook conversation forward?
No. Well, yes, actually one, not in a forward way. I reported the day before the draft that Charlotte's appetite to trade for Russell Westbrook would go up if they didn't get LaMelo Ball, and they got LaMelo Ball. So that presumably takes Charlotte out of the mix as a potential landing spot for Russell Westbrook. So, the Knicks have explored it, but it's really conditional interest. The Knicks would only do that deal under certain circumstances if they're giving up just the minimum amount of trade assets. And Houston gave up so much to get Westbrook. Yeah. They're not just going to trade him to make a trade. Washington, that was another one. John Wall and Russell Westbrook are a salary match, but the Rockets are trying to get something. They're trying to get at least one future first back or a good young player. Russell Westbrook was averaging 27, 8, and 7 at his peak last season before he had all the injury and coronavirus problems in the bubble. He did play very well in the second half of the season. The Rockets don't want to just move him for the sake of it. And in terms of Harden, the consistent message coming out of Houston is they are not in a rush. They want to try to fix this thing. They're not just going to trade him to the Nets. They don't have to trade him to the Nets just because that's where Harden wants to go. They've got him under contract for 2 more years. I don't think you're going to see the Rockets rush into a Harden deal at all. They are going to try to slow this thing down and see if they can put the pieces back together.
Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you getting up to join us. We appreciate your time.
All good. See you guys.
Thank you, bud. Marc Stein covers the NBA for the New York Times.